idea what it's like to have this huge monkey off of your back. I don't know. I slept really, really well last night. I ate this morning. I've eaten lunch. I just hung out with my girls all morning long, checked into my groups and did that kind of thing. And I feel like a million times better. I feel like sometimes you just have to recoup. And I know for me, I know that in me, everything just kind of built up. I hadn't had any time to wind down, and I hadn't had any time to decompress fully. And before, like, I didn't know what was wrong with me. Before, I would get super stressed out. I'd snap at somebody. I'd probably talk my husband, poor guy. I'd probably treat him like shit for days and days and days on end because I couldn't figure out what was wrong. I'd be yelling at my kids, and it was just shitty, not knowing what was going on with me. You know, I didn't realize that that's what anxiety was, because if you're Mexican, you don't get to have any kind of anything wrong with you. You just suck it up and you keep it to yourself, and you don't tell anybody, and you don't talk about it, and you just find a way to get over it. And you know, one of the cool things about becoming a coach is I've learned some things about personal development and reading, and through reading all this stuff and listening to some audio, Tony Robbins is amazing. I've actually been able to tap into some of these things that is only for white people. And I say that lovingly because I can't tell you how many times growing up I would hear, oh, that's only white people get to feel that way. Only white people get to do this. I'm like, really? Because I'm pretty sure I feel that type of way, and I'm Mexican, so I was very confused. So in all reality, I would share it because I want to kind of give some exposure to that. If you feel like you're suffocating, dude, if you're feeling like for some reason, no matter what you do, your kids you could beat them with a stick, and you know that's wrong, then you need some me time. You need to decompress. You need to be sure and honor that your mind needs a break too. And you need to just, wait for you to have a support system and go for a walk and completely be alone for like sometimes hours. Sometimes for me, it's hours that I need to be alone. If I'm lucky, I would prefer to be alone for an entire 24 hours. Like, that would be great. That would be ideal. But as a mom, not possible. So that's why it was super challenging yesterday. And every time I got alone, I had that quiet that's still in my mind. I could think, I could breathe. And I still had a little bit of like, okay, what are the girls doing? But I wasn't freaking out, and I didn't always feel like crying. And that's how I knew something was wrong yesterday, because I woke up and automatically wanted to cry. I'm not a crybaby. I don't do that. I am usually pretty upbeat. I'm happy. I feel good. Even after everything that goes on, even after crazy busy days, I still feel good. I still feel upbeat. And yes, I do have times where I'm like, hey, scolding the kids, but I wanted to, the girls and I went to the park, and I was pushing Addison on the swing, and I was, watching her, and I was like, I'm semi-okay, but I still felt like I was trapped. Like I couldn't, like kind of when you're short of breath or something, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong. So for me, it was, okay, I know something's wrong. I'm going to have to wait for DeMarcus to get home. And I would find little pockets wherever I could. Hey, send the girls outside, take them to the park so that they weren't in close proximity to me. I would go into the store. Just did everything I could to buy my time until DeMarcus came home. And I know not everybody has the luxury of, somebody. I know I used to be like that. I used to be a single mom, and I didn't always have time to get away from my kids. And that was hard. It was even harder because I didn't know what was wrong with me back then. And so I became this angry and bitter person, and I was a super, super jerk to everybody. And it was partly because I was super full of anxiety, not understanding that I needed to decompress, and not understanding that it was okay for me to be alone. And, on the times that I did have breaks, Jonas would go with his dad or his grandparents. That would be my break where I would recover. That really helped me a lot, actually. And I was under way more stress back then. I was working 2 jobs, going to school full time. I had just gone through a divorce. It was really kind of the shittiest part of my life, I want to say, but I grew a lot through that, and that I just learned to handle it. Like, I would internalize everything. I didn't really understand about talking about it. I didn't understand that you should probably vent and get alone time, but I did go and see a school counselor because I was having some pretty bad thoughts. So like, I always sought help, but the most helpful thing to me has always been the personal development, reading these books, listening to Tony Robbins, listening to the audios, seeing that other people who are like me are sharing it and feeling better and I don't mean sharing it like in a complaining way, like sharing it like, oh my gosh, this is what happened to me, but this is how I found my way out of it. And that's the helpful stuff, is whenever I would see posts like that, like, oh, okay, I can try that next time. So I don't know. I know this was a long rant, and I haven't talked like this for you guys in a while, but the thing about it is, if you know somebody who's like, you have a friend or a coworker and you know that they do it alone, offer to help them out. And they might tell you no, but help them anyway, because you might be the key piece between them and a mental breakdown, them being super stressed out. Like, it's so hard, especially nowadays, to be a single parent. It's hard to be a stay-at-home parent. It's hard to be a parent just in general. So offer to babysit, and they'll probably return the favor, that whole pay it forward thing. Offer to babysit for an hour. Let them take a walk just to decompress and get their bearings back in order. And just do that. That's like a cool thing to pay forward. If it's your friends or your family and you're close to them, don't judge them. Like, just because they have kids doesn't mean they have to be around them 24/7. Like, for real, we need breaks too. Moms need breaks, dads needs a break. Everybody does. We need that time to work. And it's easy to get into the mindset too of, well, I did it, so she can do it too. Well, just because you did it doesn't mean she should do it. Two, it just means like you should be compassionate. Like, hey, I know what that's like. Let me help you out. And they'll return the favor. All right, seriously, rant's over. I've got to get my workout in. I have clearly had way too much of the gold stuff, and I need to get my workout in.